Hey guys, I am just getting all set up on all the platforms, so bear with me while I figure this out. But I am so pumped to be here today to talk to you about movement building, to talk to you. I'm checking in now on Instagram, and here we go live on Facebook and live on Facebook part 2. We've got a huge setup here. I am shocked that I was able to get this going. So we are live on Instagram at Komal Minhas. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. We are live on my personal Facebook as well. And I am so pumped to be here today to share with you. So I'm just going to make sure everything is going on each platform. We're live. We've got a poor connection here on Instagram. I'm just going to make sure we're on the right internet connection. And give me a second. Here we go. We're going to swap Wi-Fi's. I'm working out of my home office today, so I'm pumped to be at home, back from travel with all of you. Here we go. We're back on. Hey, guys. So today what I'm going to be sharing about that I wanted to talk to you all about is life post Dreamgirl and all that has come in the years that have followed the creation of this film. I'm going to close the door behind me. Give me one sec. So what is life like? So I am the producer of a documentary film called Dreamgirl. It premiered at the Obama White House. We were named to Oprah's Super Soul 100 because of our work on the film, and it changed my life. It was 2.5 years of utter chaos, craziness that just was truly transformative for me. Now, I wanted to talk to you guys today about movement building because I have been embedded in social change campaigns, social activist work for a lot of my life. As I get older, I realize the weight and the power that comes with being part of a movement, of helping build movements, of believing in yourself enough to go forth and do this kind of hard work that is required when you're creating something new, creating a new movement. And it's something that's inspired me throughout my life. When I was young, I fundraised significant amounts for the Canadian Cancer Society. I led different work on campuses that I went to when I was at Carleton University. I worked day and night on Dreamgirl to help enable more women to feel seen in the workplace, in entrepreneurship, in what they're working towards every single day. And I've witnessed a lot of movements happening around us. We see this now with the Me Too movement, with what the Parkland students have done against gun violence and to make sure gun reform happens in the US. And even things like the physical movement culture from Ido Portal. We see movements across various spaces. Now, I want to share with you how you can go about creating your own movement, however small, however big, whatever you're being called to in terms of work and service that you want to do every day in your life. Now, I want to do a couple shout outs. Hey, Beata. Hi, Kina. Hi, Komal on Instagram. Hey, Sekunder, Joe Beggs, how's it going? Hey, Kylie. As someone shared that they've survived cancer, thank you for sharing that here on the chat. I'm trying to find that. Thank you, Komal, for sharing that story. Okay, so how do we go about creating movements that change the world? And when I say the world, this title on YouTube, you got to be all flashy and all of these things, but how do you create a movement that changes your world, that impacts the lives of people around you, people you care about, people you want to inspire? That's what I want to talk about today. So step one to building a movement, creating a movement, finding your movement is going towards your heartbreak. What breaks your heart? I've shared videos about this. Glennon Doyle Melton says this. That which breaks your heart, those are the communities, the people, the movements you are meant to serve. Now, it comes from a personal lens. When we look at social movements, it's a little bit different. It comes from a traumatic event or series of events or a buildup of oppression of different things. When it comes to things like movement and physical activity, when we are looking at movement culture, it came because of a lack of movement that we're seeing in society, a lack of being physical, of being strong. So it always comes from a pain point. That is how movements begin. Now, for me, I decided to commit my life to improving the lives of women and girls because I just always knew that was what I was meant to do. I was raised in a patriarchal culture. Indian culture can sometimes be very oppressive for women, for young women and girls. And I knew from an early age that all of my work would be committed to helping women and girls. I knew that because I was born here in Canada on Canadian soil, the privileges that I have, that I've been afforded, are ones that I now need to leverage to help other women and girls, to help improve the lives of others, to help encourage people to be more thoughtful, more mindful of who they are and what they're doing in the world. So there were instances, don't get me wrong, there were moments when I would realize, wow, like, we have an opportunity to significantly improve the lives of women and girls, specifically in India. One story that I'll share with you is when I went to India to visit my grandmother a few years ago, I met this young woman who was helping her in our village. We live in a very rural village in India. That's where my mom was raised. My grandma, when she moved there, it was right after my grandfather moved from Pakistan during the partition in India after 1947. And my grandmother moved from the city into a village with thatched roofs, clay huts, and she just was like, what world have I stepped into? My grandfather's family had to start from scratch. So that's the scenario that we were in. We have a beautiful home there now. And when my grandmother goes, she employs local girls to help them make some money for their families, but also to help her around the house. I met this young woman, Raj, and she and I hit it off. We would talk often. We would share stories of what it was like for her growing up in India in a rural village and what it was like for me growing up in Canada. And I left. And about a year and a half later, I found out that Raj and her sister committed suicide by ingesting pesticides. And the reason that they did that was Raj's sister, whose wedding I was there for, her husband was abusive. And she left that relationship and came back to her village and just felt hopeless. She felt like she had no future. And so they decided together to take their lives. That was the village that my mom grew up in. I'm sitting here in Canada with so much access, so much privilege, so much education. This is what I have to put my life's work towards. So that's how I knew that was the movement I wanted to build, that was the work that I wanted to do. So step one to figuring out where you want to spend your life, what kind of service-driven work you want to commit yourself to, what kind of movement you want to build is what breaks your heart, what calls you every day to do important work, to do the work that you're meant to do. For me, it's improving the lives of women and girls. Now, part two, when you're building a movement, messaging is important. What you're saying, how you're communicating to people, what you're putting into the world is so critical. We have seen this time and again. When you look at the civil rights movement, it was great orators like Malcolm X, like Martin Luther King Jr., and the speeches that we remember, I have a dream, these key messaging moments that stay with us throughout history. That isn't by chance. That is very intentional because words can move mountains. Words can inspire people to change their lives, change their communities, and change the world around them. We see it on both extremes, both for violence and perpetuating a lot of negativity in the world. What I want to focus on is movements that inspire hope, change, and changing the social systems that we live in. Recently, we see that with Emma Gonzalez and the Parkland students who, after the mass shooting in their school, went forward and created a movement towards working towards ending gun violence, to increasing gun reform in the US. They decided that they were going to make sure no one took students for granted anymore. No one wrote off this generation. And the way that she did that, if you look back to early speeches from that time, it was through one speech that she gave. And it was at the memorial after the shooting. And she used a call and repeat. And if you watch it, you'll remember this. We call BS. And she would say certain statements. I don't remember the specific statements, but statements like, you've taken us for granted and you don't think that we're going to create significant change. We call BS. And that inspired a lot of the virality of that video, of people wanting to share it, of people being part of these kids' messaging. And that was a critical moment in that specific movement. Then you had the likes of Oprah and Amal and George Clooney funding the rally that they had, the March for Our Lives. But that's where that came from, was from a very thoughtful, intentional speech. And you see that as well with Dream Girl. When Aaron put out the Kickstarter video that launched Dream Girl into the world, She was so intentional with how that video was made, the visuals that were there, the messaging, the content. She was so intentional about making sure that her message got across to the world. And get across it did. We had over 4,000 Kickstarter backers. We raised over $100,000 on Kickstarter. Erin's video landed in my inbox, and it brought me to my call to arms. I saw that video and I was like, I have to commit my life to making this movie happen. I am a female entrepreneur. My story needs to be told. Other women's stories need to be told in this space too. And I know I can bring a very specific lens and angle to this movement. And so that messaging was so important for the world to believe in this movement that Dream Girl inspired, but also for me and the other followers who came later to be inspired as well. Now, you might be wondering, and I should have said this off the top, why are we here today? So I am launching my YouTube channel. So we're going live today on YouTube to launch that. You can check it out at youtube.com/Komal Minhas. We're also announcing the winner of our so last week, we launched our movie Dream Girl about female entrepreneurs. This is what I've been talking about this whole time. And here you go, Facebook, so you can see this too. And we put a competition out there for people who shared the film using hashtag #KomalLive that they would win a signed copy of The Sun and Her Flowers from my incredible friend, Rupi Kaur, and a one-on-one 30-minute session with me to chat, coach, figure out what it is you're doing with your life, what more you want to be doing with your life. And so we've had some submissions, and I'm going to tell you who wins that at the end of today's live stream. But until then, I'm about to launch my YouTube channel. We're going to be doing weekly videos. This month into June, we're going to be talking about movement building, which is why I'm doing this video now. I really should have said this off the top, but if you didn't realize, I was a little bit nervous then, but here we are. So stick around, subscribe to my YouTube channel, make sure you check it out. Kylie will be posting links in all of these places that we're live so that you guys can click over and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more amazing content like this. I'm so excited to be doing this weekly. And I have one announcement that's coming at the end of this video as well, which is huge for me, huge for the Ottawa community, and eventually huge for a larger community that we're going to be building online. So step one to movement building was what breaks your heart. That's going to help you decide what movements do I want to go to? Where do I want to put my time? Part two is messaging. What is the key messaging a person needs to get across? What is it that needs to be said to inspire other people to do great work with you and alongside you to change hearts and minds, to change social systems? And step three is taking care of you. So if some of you have been along the ride with me, you know that I had a massive burnout a couple years ago after helping building the Dream Girl movement. So we launched the film at the Obama White House. We had our premiere there. We went and we were on Oprah's Super Soul 100 list. During that time, I was also diagnosed with cancer, a very rare and treatable form of skin cancer. And I had to go through 2 surgeries while we were meeting Oprah and going to the White House and doing all these incredible things. But my life was like this. It was a major roller coaster. And a lot of activists, a lot of people in social change work, this is the rhythm of their life, extreme highs and extreme lows. You're seeing people going through a lot of trauma. Think about activists right now who are in Palestine and on, the front lines in Gaza, on the Israeli side, and the kind of trauma that can come from these important and critical movements that are happening right now. We have to find pockets and moments to rest and care for ourselves. I wasn't able to properly do that when we were building Dream Girl. And so my body gave out. After I survived cancer, I was diagnosed with a neurological illness or neurological episode where I lost vision in my left eye semi-permanently. And I was like, I need to change my life. Like, what am I doing? Work is not everything. I can't help other people if I'm so sick that I can't do anything. And so I moved back to Canada from New York, and I now live on a beautiful acreage. Mitch, my fiance, and I, we moved in with my father-in-law. I had to make key life decisions to root myself and ground myself so that I could fill my own cup, make sure I'm okay, make sure I'm well, so that I could keep doing the important work I want to be doing in the world. Now, that is a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. I get a lot of questions of, when you're on the road to burnout, like, what should you do? And it's like, if you're asking me that question, you are clearly on that road to burnout. An intervention now is necessary. But to not be so dramatic, because what happened to me is one extreme of what can happen to a person. It just takes intentional planning every week. So tomorrow is my Wellness Wednesday. I make my appointment for my chiropractor. I make my appointment every other week to get a facial because I have bad acne. So I like to make sure I'm on top of that. And I make time to see my therapist. Wellness Wednesdays. I've been on the road for about 2.5 weeks and I am thundered. I'm so proud of myself for being live with all of you guys today and feeling so good today. But life can be a lot. And when you're an ambitious, type A person, it takes a lot of energy to do this work that we're doing. So we have to really take care of ourselves. Now you might be asking how. There are certain things that are going to work better for you than they do for other people. So for me, therapy, traditional counseling wasn't my jam. Mindset coaching was. So I found someone who does mindset coaching, transformational coaching, who helped me work through trauma that I was holding on to from when I was a kid. That was some intense work that took months and months of work, but it was very effective for me. I am a chiropractor person. Some people are osteopath people. And it depends too. Do you have, access to the financial resources to do lots of these appointments? So if you don't have that, what's the next best thing? Well, journaling, making time for yourself, walks in nature, walks in general, talking to your best friends, making time and space for you to just watch some TV, have some Netflix time, some downtime. But it isn't just all salt lamps, which I have one here, and bubble baths. But it also is going to your doctor's appointments and having tough and difficult conversations, eating healthy food. Sometimes we're like, treat yourself, but how often can you can treat yourself to sickness, if you choose to not eat well. So being really intentional about self-care and being healthy is so critical to movement building, because without you, there will be no movements are made of many people, but without you, your unique and significant contributions can't be given to this important work if you're not healthy, if you're not happy. And so I really encourage all of you, whether you're looking to build a movement or not, whether you're looking to just live a great life, to take care of yourself. We all need you, I promise. So just take time to be healthy. Now, I want to come back to movements don't have to be massive things. Movements can be micro. You can create a movement in your family, a movement towards better communication, a movement in your friend group towards less, harsh conversations, more meaningful, heartfelt conversations, of movement in your workplace to better respecting one another and taking care of each other. And then from there, we scale up. These micro changes can have macro impacts. The way that we treat one another can shift how policy is created, how social change and impact happens. I genuinely believe that in that systems change, it starts from within, and then you can do this good work in larger organizations, within politics, within social change circumstances. And that's what gets me going. I love that stuff. So these are the 3 things I wanted to share today around movement building, going towards and walking boldly towards what breaks your heart, or whatever that big movement in the world is, what movements are coming up that are sparking something within you. The second is messaging, being very thoughtful about your messaging, about what you're putting out into the world. And then the third is taking care of you. So what does this all have to do with where I'm at now? I created this film, Dream Girl, with Erin, my co-founder, and the brains behind the whole operation. And I was able to walk alongside her as we built up the momentum behind the film and behind conversations around women in the workplace, women in business. And it's now been seen by tens of thousands of people worldwide. We've put it on YouTube for everyone to now publicly consume. And I hope you watch it and I hope you feel inspired. The messages I've gotten this week have been truly phenomenal. I am so grateful for those of you who have watched it, for those of you who have loved it. It means the absolute world to me. And so keep sharing it, keep giving it forward, keep giving it momentum so that it can inspire more and more people. So what have I been doing since Dream Girl? When I left last January in 2017, when I left New York to come home and get healthy, I set a strong intention that if I was able to get my health back, when I would get my health back and when I would be able to create meaningful content again, I wouldn't waste a second of it. And some of you might see on my Instagram, I like to do these hits of Q&As and inspiration every day, 1 minute for all of you, to help you work through things that you're thinking about in your life. How do I become better at this life? How do I become better in my relationships? How do I become better in the work I want to do in the world? And so that's what I want to enable more and more conversation around through all the work that I do. So my Instagram is where I live these days. It's a place where I focus on what kind of messaging do I want to put in the world? What kind of coaching do I want to do? How do I want to grow this business? And a seed was actually planted about last month. And a little bit, my brother is a big instigator of this, and other spaces, I'm alluding to something that inspired me to launch what is going to be my future business. So I'm really excited to share today, guys. I am going to be opening a community and co-work space in Ottawa that is focused on work, wellness, and impact. It's a space that is coming straight from my heart. It's called the Core Space, K-A-U-R. Now, it is a space that is going to be the core of all the work that I do. It is going to be where I film amazing content for you. It's going to be a media incubator where I can help up and coming content creators in the Ottawa area come through. It's going to be where I eventually record my future podcast. It's going to be a home of inspiration. And it's going to be a great place for incredible work in the Ottawa area. So we are launching the Core Space, the physical co-work space, in 2019. And this fall, we're also going to be launching the digital magazine, Core Space, KAUR.space. On Instagram, you can check us out. We are live today. And we're going to be launching our digital magazine, again, focused on work, wellness, and impact, with a lens specifically for women and non-gender conforming people. And it is going to be the rest of my life's work. I can feel it now. We're planting this seed. It's going to be my headquarters. It's going to be a space where we get great content creators like you to submit meaningful content around work, wellness, and impact. It's going to be a place where I can let my culture thrive. So the reason I'm calling it the Core Space, K-A-U-R space, is because in my faith, I am Sikh, S-I-K-H. That is my faith background. And our 10th disciple, our 10th guru, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, he gave all women in the Sikh faith the name Kaur. In the vein of our first Guru, Guru Nanak, who looked at equality between all people, it was a way of eliminating us as, or no longer having us be the property of our husbands or our fathers. Women were now these warriors. We are these warriors. And this name Kaur denotes that in my faith. I am a Sikh warrior princess. And that is what this space is going to be in the world, a place for us warriors to come together to do incredible work and to amplify our voices together. So I'm so ecstatic to have been able to share with you guys that this is the next phase of life for me, the launch of Core Space this fall and next year. And before that, I'm also going to be getting married. So Mitch and I are so excited to be bringing our families together this July, to be married, to grow our family, and to start this next chapter of our lives on an incredible foot. So from getting married to launching the digital magazine of Core Space to launching and opening our first physical location in Ottawa in 2019, I see nothing but joy and excellence ahead. And I want to give a big shout out to Kylie Adair from my team, who is my director of content. She is a big reason why you can see the daily videos on Instagram and what's going to be coming on YouTube, my weekly videos. She is managing all of that, helping me create this content for you guys so it can be out there consistently, along with my newsletter, which you guys can subscribe to. All of it's in the link in my bio on Instagram. And also Rhaenyra Naidu. She is my my creative director. Anything that you see brand-wise coming out of Komal Minhas, my company, and also the Core Space, is done by Rhaenyra. So thank you, Ren, for being my brand voice in the world, for helping me in the step 2 of this video, which I said, that communication, that sharing that aesthetic with the world. These are the 2 women who helped me really do that. And also Mindy the Lion on Instagram, who has helped me with my entire social media strategy from December this year to now. You guys have seen a lot of growth for me. And I'm basically just saying there's a lot on the horizon. And I'm just so pumped for all of you to walk this journey with me, walk this path with me. And this is my official launch of my YouTube channel. So check out www.youtube.com/Komal Minhas. Check me out on Instagram @Komal Minhas. Check me out on Facebook @Komal Minhas. That was me saying my name a whole bunch of times. And please, please, please go and follow @Kaur, KAUR.space on Instagram, and get ready for some dope content that will be coming out this fall. And for that physical space, Ottawa, I'm coming for you. This is my home, and I can't wait to give back so much greatness to all of you. So now, we are 25 minutes into this. I've got about 5 or 6 minutes for questions. I'm seeing some good comments coming out. And so here's your chance. Let's see some questions. Kylie's going to send them to me on Slack. So Kylie, shoot me some questions that you see. I see that we've gotten a couple. Sikander 25 on Insta asks, how do you come up with great thoughts that you share? Hey, Sikander, good to talk. Good to see you on Insta. Thanks for being here. How do you come up with the great thoughts that you share? A lot of it is life experience. What I share here on every platform, it's so funny. I'm going to take a picture of this after because I've got 1 laptop, 2 laptops, old cell phone, current cell phone, so that I could go live everywhere. But it really is through life experience. I reflect on what are the things that I wish I knew more about when I was younger, or what piece of advice do I need today, right now, to do the great work that I want to do. And then that's what I want to give to you guys. Because if it helps me, I know it's going to help someone else. So that's how I curate and create the content that comes from right in my soul, right in my heart for all of you. And so I hope that helps you understand how you can maybe create some content that speaks to the souls of others as well. Next question. Where am I located? Hey, Hussein. I am in Ottawa, Canada. I'm actually outside of Ottawa in a small place called Carp. If you can see, there's some foliage outside of my window. I live on an acreage here. So we've got 40 acres of beautiful forest and land that I love roaming through and being in. That helps me feel inspired to create great content for you guys. Next up, we have a question. How do you figure out what skills and strengths you bring to a movement? That's a great question. So when I think back to that moment when I saw Erin's Kickstarter campaign come to me, and when I was thinking, how can I contribute to what this person is creating? I saw what Erin was building and I just knew I had to be a part of it. I immediately opened an email and I addressed it to her. And it was me just thinking, okay, what do I have to offer this person? I had camera equipment. I knew that I have a great strategic mind. I can think of a lot of different strategies and things to inspire other people to build these movements. And so that's what I offered. I said, I've got camera equipment. I can come down to New York and help on set, however you may need. And these are the things that I've done in the past around building community, building movement. I'm really good at meeting people. So this is what I can offer you. Let's do this thing. And next week, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about, even if you're a leader, becoming a follower in a movement and how important that is. So make sure you tune in on YouTube next week as well for that conversation. So that is how I would say, how do you figure out what skills and strengths you bring to a movement? Look back on what you've created in the past and go from there. And that is a huge part. Oh, I've got a call coming in on Instagram, guys. I'm sorry if the live went down. Ravi, if you're watching this, don't call me back. That's my little cousin. She loves to chat. And right now we are live, so I want to make sure that we're continuing on. Pause. There we go. We're back. Sorry, Instagram. I had a call coming in. Ravi, I'll call you later. All right. Sound good? Okay. Next up, we've got from Celeste Stewart on Facebook. What are your tips for juggling so many things daily? I tend to compromise on my personal well-being and sleep. Yikes. I know it's not sustainable, but how do I manage so much volume? Should I be scaling up? Yes. And I love that you kind of answered your own question, because I noticed my bottleneck came also when I was starting to sleep a little bit less, when things started feeling like they were super stacked. And it was when I brought Rhaenyra on actually 2 weeks ago to be full-time with me as my creative director, because I knew that I'm a creative person, but I'm not like the most aesthetic. Like I don't have the skill set to do those things. So Kylie and I are content creators. I like to speak. This is where I jam, and this is what I need to be doing all the time, not editing. not, trying to create an aesthetically beautiful thing. I had to outsource, I had to delegate to create more space for me to live in my zone of genius. But that does take resources, and it does take trust. And it's taken me time to build up trust with my team. And I start as contractors. I bring them on as contractors and then test out how we vibe together, how we work together. Rhaenyra told me, you're stuck with me for life. And I was like, okay, well then let's make it official. But that sort of, yes. What are your tips for juggling so many things daily? The other thing is like realizing not everything is so high stakes, that you can actually slow down a little bit and things will not come crashing down. We can get a little excited in our minds about, how much we're capable of, how important things are. It's rare that outside of being a surgeon, doctor, someone who is doing life-saving work at the front lines, that our work can be put on pause for a sec. I had to take 8 months off last year and I was worried that the world would forget about me. But here we are. I'm back. Ego had to shut off for a second so that I could heal and be well. So it's about that perspective shift too, of like, if I don't take these pauses now, then I might have to sacrifice more time later and not be able to be of service to as many people as I want to be in the long run. So just being kind to ourselves, creating those spaces and asking ourselves, like, am I building distractions in my life, or am I like really doing this from a space, like an intentional space? I hope that's helpful, Celeste. Thank you for your wonderful question. And yes, scale up. Don't necessarily do it fast, but scale up in a way that feels good for your business and good for what you're building. I saw a question come up on Instagram. I'm going to go over to Kylie. I'm sure she's pulled it up for me. How do you maintain your calm when sometimes things don't go your way? And this is at Dr. Tap _23. Thank you so much for asking that, Dr. Tap. How do you maintain your calm when sometimes things don't go your way? What I've learned about life is that it is all about perspective. When we think of things not going our way, what does that mean? Is it that we had an expectation that was broken? Likely. That's happened to me time and again. But what I've had to develop, and you can read a lot about this online, is a growth mindset. So there's two types of mindsets in the literature that I've read. There's a fixed mindset and there's a growth mindset. Fixed mindsets are related to people who really struggle with change, with being open to the potential of a future better life for themselves. So that being fixed, getting stuck in your anxiety, getting stuck in the thought patterns that are holding you back, not being open to a potentially better life. We can get stuck in stories and narratives about being small, staying, keeping ourselves suppressed, depressed, small. But it takes little action by little action, changing a little thought by a little thought, journaling a little bit, asking ourselves, why am I being so hard on myself? That can open us up to even greater potential, greater possibility, that growth mindset. How do I maintain my calm when things don't go your way? It is something I've built a muscle for over time. Anyone in my life that you talk to, when a crisis situation comes up, and not going our way can be a number of different things. It can be someone making a decision that negatively impacts you, aka our parents, or it can be someone in your life passing away. It can be you getting fired from a job. It can be a friend, cutting you out of their life. These things of things not going our way. How do you maintain that calm? Training yourself, becoming more resilient, knowing that every time something bad happens, you can come out of it. The way that I stay calm is remembering this is happening right now to me. I can handle it. I'm going to handle it. What do I need to do right now to make this better? Whether that's a big cry and I take a step away and I go and I have myself a big cry, or it's calling someone to help, to delegate to, or it's talking to my parent about why did you make that decision without really considering me? But first I have my big cry so I don't get super emotional about it. Having these calm, collected conversations. So just checking in with yourself, asking yourself, why am I so upset right now? Doing things to cope with that amount of being upset, and then continuing to move forward to build a better life, to make the situation better. That was kind of rambly, but I hope it was helpful. We're going to do our last question. Let me just see how it's going. Celeste, yes, love that. Not everything is high stakes. I tend to think everything is high stakes. So profound. Thank you. Very helpful. Absolutely. We are the protagonist in our own lives. We think that like we are the center of the universe. We are the center of our universe. But if you're thinking about like, you know, Mitch is home working today because he wasn't feeling well. His dad, he works from home too. So we have our offices in the house. They are the center of their worlds today. I am a periphery. We always have to remember we are secondary in other people's lives. We like to think that our life is the most important, biggest, whatever. But the most humbling thing and something that can give you the most perspective is remembering, like, I'm not the center of the universe. There's a whole big world out there. I was born, but I will also die. Like, I am a small part of this bigger world and universe and existence that, you know, is here. Now, this is going to seem very like macro and philosophical, but like, you know, we are but small creatures in this world. And we have one life to leave as much of an impact as possible. So don't waste a second of it. The impacts we can leave, the change that we can make in someone's life, I know we are all capable of it. And that's what I've committed myself to figuring out for the people in my life, for all of you, for the people who I am so grateful have joined me on Instagram. We are 12,000 strong. Thank you, warriors. And that we want to create with the core space, that I want to create with our co-work space and our digital magazine through core space. We are small, insignificant beings, but we are significant to ourselves and the people in our lives. And so let's make sure that we amplify our impacts on our circle, love the shit out of them, love them so much, and also love the people that whose lives you want to impact, that you want to amplify. We have one beautiful life. What are you going to do with it? I want you to comment and tell me, what is your biggest dream right now? What are you going to do to make it happen? Is it building a movement? Was what I shared with you here helpful? I sure hope that it was. I love you guys a whole bunch. Thank you, my warriors. This is my first live stream. Back at it. I'm going to be doing weekly videos on YouTube. That's what this live stream is about. And oh yes, thank you, Kylie. I have to announce the winner. So we had over 100 people share the movie off of Dreamgirl, or the film that we created. We had over 100 people share it off my website. So thank you all so much for that. We did have a little bit of a technical issue where we didn't get to see all the shares, because if you didn't put your share as public, not just for your friends, I wasn't able to see it, but I was able to see Shaylin Isaac's post. So thank you so much, Shaylin. Someone from my team will be in touch with you. We will be shipping you The Sun and Her Flowers, a signed copy from Rupi Kaur, one of my amazing friends. And we will schedule that one-on-one call for you and I to chat, talk through life, for me to give you some advice, and to see how I can help amplify whatever it is, whatever work that you are doing in the world. So thank you, my warriors. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Now I have to end all of these. So bye, YouTube.